This is Rajneesh. I'm the editor of APAC News Network. The areas that I would like to focus on: one, give an update on the portfolio, both in terms of products and services currently, maybe a vertical wise split in terms of the top line, and as well as in the top three verticals, if you can mention some of the use cases. So, these are the first areas that I would like to do.
So, in vertical wise, I think the banking and financial services is obviously one of the largest vertical. There we do about 55% or something like that. Then we have the insurance vertical, which is again a pretty big thing, which is about 25%. And then we get distributed in government in about 10-15%. So I think government and BPOs, because BPOs use our products for outsourced services.
So, some of these, both in terms of the banking, insurance, and the BPOs and the government, if you can identify certain use cases for the.
You know, basically, when you talk about workflow and processes, they are the backbones of every organization. I mean, banks have to open accounts, they have to process loans, they have to handle customer requests for asking for checkbooks or asking for. I think all this is done on our platform. So that's where we've been used. In insurance, for policy issuance, they use us. For printing the policies and delivering the policies, they use our CCM solution. And for claims processing, so you accumulate all the claims electronically, move them, and get them processed. So I think everywhere they are being used.
And in government service?
In government, again, for funding, people apply for the funds to be raised, for loans, for study loans and things like that, grants and things. So I think that's where they use us.
Okay, and the other one was a geographical split. You mentioned roughly about 30% each between India, UAE, and Middle East.
So, about 4-5 years back, 5-7 years back, India used to be about 70%, and rest was 30% export. Now the ratio is slightly changing. Obviously, we think it will keep changing. So now it is about 30% from India, 30% from US, and 30% from Middle East, and about 10% from APAC. But we see going forward, US and Europe will become a much larger percentage.
So you are, since you are pouring into these markets, more developed kind of markets, what is the infrastructure that you have to support?
See, basically, that is why our shift, mostly in these in geographies like India and Middle East and APAC, we have been providing the implementation services also. But now, as we are moving into the Western world, the more developed economies of US and Europe and Australia and area, we are going into collaboration with the big GSIs, big global system integrators like Infosys, HCL, like Wipro, TechM. So now they are taking us into their customers. They have been doing the services for all these customers anyway. Now they can use our product to multiply their services. So I think that's what we are doing. That is our approach.
But in terms of, in many cases, even with the GSIs when you are working, since you have primarily enterprise products, many of the solutions, however, the product consumption pattern is changing. It's in a cloud model or as per use
Correct.
the consumption. So how is that transformation?
Yeah, so in more developed economies, it is more on cloud. Because even now the adoption of these things, these technologies, is slightly slower in Middle East and India and APAC, but it's catching on. It's catching on.
Okay, and in terms of specifically again, what I asked earlier, during the last couple of years, during the pandemic, while obviously you have been helping your customers with digital transformation, but there has been still for every organization anywhere in any geography a change in the pattern of how they consume technology. So one, what were the serious challenges that you faced, and how did you help your customers
See,
meet those
what has
challenges?
happened is as the pandemic came, people have to hurry up the whole things. So they went in for some front end processes. But customer experience suffers if you don't go for the back end processes also. So you have to have an integrated process from starting to finish. If you can apply for the loan, but later you don't get service properly, or the bank doesn't get the securitization properly, there will be a problem.
Exactly.
So you have to go for end-to-end processes. So now the world is moving in for more complete a digital journey, and that's where we come into the play. So front ends have been prepared some short way, but back ends are being done properly.
And more elaborate on what I was asking, between retaining those existing customers
Yes.
and acquiring new customers, how did you maintain that balance?
See, acquiring new customer is always an endeavor, but I think our existing customers have given us great amount of business. And then during pandemic, where acquiring a new customer was difficult, but most of our existing customers gave us much more business because they knew that this platform can be used. So they just went for more and more processes. So they deepened the whole thing. So I think that was a great advantage.
And since that acquisition also of number theory that you were mentioning, and where analytics came into, when you are acquiring new customers, analytics definitely helps.
Yeah.
So how
So
has been
when you
that?
analyze your data, you come up with the big insight as to how customers are consuming your things, whether you are giving loans or whether you're issuing the insurance policies. So what you have to predict is what is this guy going to take next. Okay, so based on that we can give better offers, we can give more suggest to the person, more this thing. So uske liye, you have to have the analytics. So that is where the analytics is being used. And so now we are trying to build it in the platform itself.
Okay.
So you go, you process, you collect the data. From the data, you analyze and sift through it and find out, like, if he is taking this kind of loan, then maybe this guy will also need that.
Okay.
So you can give him more and more proposals like that. Also, you check his propensity of taking more. So how much business he can do, how much it will take time, where there can be a failure.
So how is this engine? Say in a typical scenario, there will be other enterprise applications like a CRM or an ERP also. So how will this engine integrate with which can be from other vendors?
Yeah, so basically, that's not a problem. We build the model. Building the
Okay.
model, you need a lot of data, and then using that data, you build models. And based on those models, you give suggestions, you find out the probability of default. Like many other banks do underwriting on our system. So we have the data there. We
Okay.
have reasons for rejection, why they rejected it. And based on that, we can automate the whole thing. So, it can go straight through processing rather than human getting involved. And that means faster speed. So I think that is the kind of thing. So it
Okay.
is a kind of integrated that every day when you receive more application, you will apply new things into the platform, and platform will suggest better solutions.
And another question, you mentioned the developed markets, the US market we were approaching through the GSIs more. So overall, for each of the geographies, what's the important components of your go-to-market strategy?
See, in the developed market, we'll go mostly by through GSIs. So, because they have access into large customers. We don't have that access. Like in India, yes, we have the access because we have built it over 20 years. But now you don't have 20 more years to do this. So in India, to walk into ICICI or RBI or anywhere, I have no problem. We can walk there. And we have established. Out there, we are not established. And you know, these SIs have already established themselves for over 20 years. So we can ride on them because we are not conflicting with them. They are going to use our product and they have their services. So I think it's a good combination. And many of these SIs have used our product elsewhere, in India and in other places, and they are also aware how good our products are, how scalable our products are. So they are ready to take them.
Okay. And another question I would like to ask you is, since you are that 30 years now completing, and if we look at some of these GSI, the Indian GSIs, if I say, they have been also services companies, and what we have seen, these large services companies, the growth has always been linear. The more people you take, the top line grows.
Absolutely.
How have you managed that? Since you have survived 30 years and prospered, how have you
In
managed
our
that?
case, that's not true. Our things are not linear.
Obviously, that's why I'm asking. How did you manage?
Yeah, we avoided the services business because our desire and our dream was to build a product company. And I think we have done well.
So, if we look back 30 years, building a product company from Indian enterprise product company has always been a challenge. Be it marketing, be it the funding,
No,
but
building the trust, biggest problem is building the trust with the customer. Because any customers we have taken is now working with us for 25 years. And they will keep working. You know, it's like an aeroplane. You buy
so
a,
how many such customers approximately who are there for more than 2 decades?
like 15 years, we may be having 100 customers.
Okay.
We 20 years, we will be having 10, 15, 20 customers. So it just goes on and they will continue with us because we are into their whole system. Like for a bank, after core banking, we are the next platform. Correct. You know, if you see these days, the ICICI Bank is coming up with the ads. You've seen the front page ad of in Economic Times, and they are writing digital platform, our world-class digital platform, which we have provided. So that digital platform will continue whatever they do.
Okay.
I don't think they can change it ever.
And who will be, other than ICICI, some of these old customers, is more than 20 years?
Max New York Life. Bank of Baroda is now for 12 years, 15 years. UBI has been there for 20 years. So I think many of these customers have been there for a long time.
Okay.
ICICI Pru.
Okay.
Anyway, ICICI, so ICICI Pru. So these have been the customers who have been there. LIC has been there now for 15 years. They're going strong. So we have billions of documents in our system.
So, if I may ask, going forward for the next 3 to 4 years, not long, what are the key thrust areas which you would like to focus on, be it expansion, services, geographies, whatever?
No, of course, the major focus is on US and Europe because worldwide they account for 65%.
But isn't that market, there is a saturation level there in the developed US and Western Europe?
Not true. I think
What sort of use cases will you go there with?
see the kind of scaling which Indian banks have done. They are not doing that kind of scaling because they have not seen that kind of growth. The transactional growth, the number of transactions I get executed on my platform in ICICI Bank, you'll be surprised. It's more than. So I think the growth has been here, the word has been here. So I think that's why everybody wants to be here.
And any other than the geographies, other focus areas?
So geography is one. The enterprise focus is coming now. So I think that is where we would like to go next.
Enterprise in the sense?
In enterprise also, you have all kind of things, complaints handling refills, handling, regular customers who are there, their requests. You want to build a ecosystem. It's no more a factory out there and you are sending product out and people are just buying it. That's no more true. It is relationships, it is connected world. So before you need something today, you want to get it today. You don't want to get it 6 months in advance. So you want to order it today and get it today. So I think if that connectivity has to come and that kind of efficiency you want to bring, then you will need, in this connected world, you will need digital platforms to handle it.
Exactly. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your time.